If Donald Trump were to win the 2024 presidential election, it could lead to significant changes across multiple areas of American life, politics, and international relations. His presidency would likely build on many of the policies and approaches he pursued during his first term from 2017 to 2021, but with some potential differences. Here's what could happen. 1. Political landscape, polarization and division. Trump's return to the White House could intensify political polarization. His strong base of support would likely feel vindicated, while his detractors, particularly progressives and parts of the Democratic Party, may become even more entrenched in their opposition. This could lead to further cultural and political divides. Executive power. Trump has been vocal about expanding presidential powers, and some reports suggest he plans to consolidate more authority in the executive branch. This could result in a more centralized and powerful presidency, potentially challenging the checks and balances provided by Congress and the judiciary. Supreme Court appointments. Trump could have the opportunity to reshape the judiciary even more by appointing additional conservative justices to the Supreme Court, cementing a conservative majority for decades. This could influence key rulings on abortion, gun rights, voting laws, and other significant issues. 2. Domestic policy, economy. Trump has emphasized a return to the economic policies of America First. This would likely involve deregulation, tax cuts for corporations and the wealthy, and a focus on reducing trade deficits. He has also promised to bring back jobs, particularly in manufacturing, by leveraging tariffs and renegotiating trade deals. However, such policies could reignite trade tensions, particularly with China, and potentially lead to increased tariffs that could hurt certain sectors of the U.S. economy, especially agriculture and manufacturing. Immigration. Immigration policy under a second Trump term would likely see a revival of the stricter measures from his first term. This could include tighter border controls, more deportations, reduced asylum options, and possibly a renewed push for the U.S.-Mexico border wall. DACA, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, could once again be under threat, which would affect undocumented immigrants brought to the U.S. as children. Social issues. Trump's administration could further restrict abortion access, possibly supporting a nationwide ban or restrictions if the Supreme Court allows for more state-level bans. LGBTQ rights could also face challenges, particularly in areas like transgender rights in healthcare and education. 3. Foreign policy, U.S.-China relations. Trump is likely to continue viewing China as America's primary economic and geopolitical rival. This could mean an escalation in trade conflicts, diplomatic tensions, and competition in technology and military domains. A Trump presidency could bring a tougher stance on issues like Taiwan, trade practices, and intellectual property theft. NATO and allies. Trump has been critical of NATO, accusing allies of not paying their fair share for defense. A second term could strain America's traditional alliances, as he might push for a reduced U.S. role in global security. Some European allies might be unsettled by this, possibly leading to a weakening of Western unity in dealing with issues like Russia or the Middle East and Israel. Trump is likely to continue his strong support of Israel, and his administration could push forward with more controversial diplomatic moves in the region, such as expanding the Abraham Accords. Relations with countries like Iran could worsen, with the possibility of more sanctions or even military confrontations. 4. Climate and environmental policy, climate change. Trump has historically dismissed the severity of climate change, and his second term would likely see a rollback of environmental regulations. He could withdraw the U.S. from international climate agreements, such as re-entering the Paris Agreement under Biden, and promote fossil fuel production, such as oil, coal, and natural gas, over renewable energy. Environmental protections. Deregulation could be a priority, with federal restrictions on emissions, endangered species, and public land use possibly being loosened. This could impact the environment and public health, with long-term consequences for climate action both domestically and globally. 5. Legal and constitutional issues, legal troubles. Trump faces multiple legal challenges, including criminal investigations into his business practices and his role in the January 6 Capitol riot. A return to the presidency might allow him to use the executive office to protect himself from some of these legal issues, potentially challenging the idea of presidential accountability and raising questions about the rule of law, election integrity, and voting rights. Trump has consistently claimed, without evidence, that the 2020 election was stolen. A second term could lead to more stringent voting laws, potentially making it harder for certain groups to vote. Trump has also expressed interest in making structural changes to elections, including ideas like mandatory voter ID and restrictions on mail-in ballots. These changes could impact future elections and public trust in the electoral process. 6. Cultural shifts, populism. Trump has been the face of a populist movement that challenges traditional political elites. A second term could embolden other populist figures in the U.S. and globally, encouraging anti-establishment movements, nationalism, and skepticism toward global institutions like the United Nations or World Trade Organization. Free speech and media. Trump has frequently clashed with the media, labeling many outlets as fake news. In a second term, there could be increased efforts to control or limit the influence of certain media outlets. Trump's supporters may push for more platforms that reflect their views, possibly fueling alternative media ecosystems and further eroding trust in traditional journalism. 7. January 6 fallout and democracy concerns, Capitol riot legacy. Trump's role in the January 6, 2021, Capitol riot remains a major issue. If he wins, there could be renewed debates about the integrity of American democracy. His potential pardon of January 6 participants or action to protect those who supported the event could deepen concerns about his respect for democratic norms, democratic institutions. Critics of Trump argue that his behavior, particularly around election denial, poses a threat to democratic institutions. A second term could see more efforts to weaken traditional norms around the peaceful transfer of power, the independence of the judiciary, or checks and balances in the government. In summary, a Trump victory in 2024 could reshape America's domestic policies, foreign relations, and political institutions in ways that reflect his personal style of leadership, nationalist, populist, and often confrontational. The impacts could be profound, both for the U.S. and for its role in the world. However, the extent of these changes would depend on political dynamics in Congress, resistance from state governments, and broader public opinion.